last week when I finally got these avocado trees into the ground after all the effort that I had spent here to prepare. It was a real triumph, but as I said, there was two more things to do. Actually, there are three, and the first of those three things that I need to do is to restake these trees. What they currently have is the stake that comes with them in the pot, and it's really simply designed to hold them nice and secure while they're in the pot. Long term, that's not going to be any good because they have to grow, and this is reasonably tight. I've seen many plants where this has been left on these tapes, and as they grow they will naturally split them and come off, but it can still result in some marking on the actual stem, and of course it's not a very strong stake. The winds that we're going to get through here would probably snap that stake off in no time at all. So I'm going to restake them. I'm going to put 3 stakes around and tie them 3 ways. That way you get reasonable support no matter which direction the wind comes from. If you tie just to one stake, you're going to get still a lot of flopping around. And I'm tying them with a soft cotton tie. This will break down in time, so I will need to keep an eye on it, but that should keep them in place without significantly impacting on the actual stem of the plant. Well, I think that's enough support for that one. Even though it's a fairly tall plant, they don't get some movement and stress, or that slight stress on them from the wind. They don't strengthen as well, so you need to be getting some strengthening going on, and so they need to be able to move a little bit so that they actually know that they need to strengthen their stem. If they're too well supported, they just become spindly and weak, which in a way is what has happened here, because it has been in a nursery in a pot, and that's made it grow tall, but it is still very thin and quite weak. So the second thing that it's important for me to do is to ensure watering. So what I want to do is put an irrigation system onto it that is automatic and is going to ensure that these plants get regular water even if I forget about them. So what I'm wanting to create here is a very simple drip or dribble irrigation system using some micro irrigation pipe. These small adjustable dribblers, they will do from 1 to 33 litres a minute, so I can adjust that to whatever I want depending on the time of the year and the actual need of water that these have. Though I probably will actually run them at their full capacity and rely on a timer switch at the tap to control the water, so I'll vary the time rather than the amount that's delivered. So my first task is to run this pipe from here across to the tap that's in the chook pen and see how I go. I can actually feel some irrigation coming from the sky right now, so how long I'll be able to keep going with this, I'm not sure. In order to do that, I need to put a hole through this fence here that goes into the chook pen just to run the pipe through, because otherwise I have to go around and that's a bit pointless. So this is just a simple process to go through. Aha, there we're going. The nice thing about this 13mm micro irrigation pipe is that it is so cheap, and it's really good for running water around the trees like this. So here it comes. Now in this corner I've got a little avocado growing that's actually a seedling, and I haven't given it any attention over summer whatsoever. It's been a little bit droopy because it's been dry. With these ferns stacked around it, it's probably mulching it and keeping it a little bit more moist and looking a little bit happier, particularly with the rain that we've had yesterday. I might, while I'm going past, I'll put a sprinkler on it too and give it the benefit of some extra water and see how it goes. It'll be interesting if it succeeds to compare this, which is a seedling avocado, to the grafted Hass that are on the other side of the fence. At this point I'm stopping because I'm going to run up this wall and then across to the tap. So I'll have to put a couple of elbow joints in, trying to keep it to these wall lines, that way it'll be out of the road whatever I'm doing. So with it in place at the other end, I'm going to estimate across here and cut it and use a pin to pin it in place. Then I can go and add the other piece at the other end that I need. The irrigation that's coming from the sky is getting heavier. No amount of irrigation that we put in place equals what comes down in rain in terms of quality. Rain is just so much better, particularly a storm. It's amazing how a storm will make things grow. But anyway, you've still got to keep the plants supplied with some water to keep them alive till the next rain comes. Thankfully we've got a bit of shelter here, so we can actually get a bit more of this in.
And we don't need to get wet.
Right, okay. Go up this way. Right along the green.
Chicken in there. That's
So another elbow in here.
Oopsie daisy.
Away from us.
Tell me which one I have to.
Now, we need to slip that from the other side and then we can hook it in.
Yeah.
Can you slip that underneath?
I'll do it in that hole there.
Yep. Come on, here you come. Here, to my hand. It's in my hand.
Did it?
Yeah, that's the boy. Well done.
Do you know what to get it under? Well, my fingers are dirty.
Oh, well, you wash them like that.
Yeah, I'm sure can.
The water we have is gravity fed spring water, so the pressure is not very high. So I'm not actually bothering putting clips on. So we're just going to put this little branch line into this little avocado here.
You make some.
Doesn't take much effort to put an extra T in. Need to get a couple of clips to hold it down, but I haven't got those at the moment. Right, to close off the end, it's generally just a matter of kinking it right over and fastening it back in some way. Now, generally I've used wire, but I'm trying a cable tie. I'm not sure if it's big enough though. They seem to be the only ones I had in the shed. Need to buy more by the look of it. Yeah, it's not actually going in there, so I might come back to this. I'm running out of time today, so it'll either be using some wire or I might get some more cable ties in the meantime. But I'll come back to this job in a couple of days' time. Well, I'm back to complete this job on what's a lovely sunny autumn afternoon. We got a little bit of rain, but it wasn't really significant. But anything is good, and as I said earlier, rain is always much better than irrigation, but still we need to persist with this. I went shopping, got some better cable ties, so I'll be able to nicely tie this off. to close the end. Using something like this means that you can very easily slip it back and open the end to flush the pipes if you need to. I've got here a couple of bubblers to put in to water these trees. So here at the base of the tree, using one of these little tools, I'm simply able to put a hole into the pipe, just pushes through, and I'm using a stand, gives it a little bit of a wider spread, and it means if I put any more mulch or anything around it, it's not going to interfere, where if I had it down here, the mulch would stop the spread of the water and it would just go down. Mulching over the top of a single dripper is okay, but with this type we're trying to get it a little bit wider. A stand is a good idea. So that just screws in nice and simple, and I can adjust this then to adjust the flow once I've got water coming through. On the second one, exactly the same as the first, pushing the hole through and pushing in the stand, screwing it down, and it's ready. Now at the tap end I have decided to put a timer on it. Having a timer simply means that I can not worry so much about the process. I don't have to go there and turn it on and off, and it's just going to happen. It will still require a little bit of maintenance, but it'll mean it's a lot easier for me, and it'll give me a little bit of peace of mind knowing that these are getting watered even if I've forgotten about them temporarily. Now I've done a separate video on the actual timer, so if you're interested in that, you'll need to wait for that to come. I'll put a link for it as soon as I've got it up in this video. So if you're interested in that, just go to that link and click on it once it's there. The third stage of this final project to protect these trees and ensure they are nurtured is I'm going to put this shade cloth along the front here and across the top. Now what I've purchased is a garden shield shade cloth. This is rated to about a 10-year lifespan and only does a 30% UV protection. So the main purpose I'm looking for here is some breaking of the wind, which is primarily going to come from this side, the west, and also to break this hot afternoon sun like we've got at the moment, even though of course it's not so hot now as we're moving into autumn, but in summer this hot afternoon sun against the wall would be really hot. So this will break it on this side. The other side I will leave open, and also to the north, so that's where the sun can come in there in the winter. To do that, what I'm going to do is run along the front here a wire between these two posts, and also a wire across the back between the two posts there, and then I can run it up and across that wire and fasten it each end to the posts. The day got away from me yesterday, so I had to give it up, but I'm back here for another go to try and get this finished. I've decided to close this end, which is the southern end, and that means here in Tasmania that's where we're going to get our cold winds from. The sun comes from the north here, with a little bit of plastic, and that will significantly reduce the amount of direct breeze and stop it tunneling through here. So my favourite way of fastening plastic like this and also shade cloth into place is to cut up a paling into around about 1 inch widths, and then to wrap the plastic or shade cloth around that and fasten it in place with some screws. So I'm going to put this first one in, and then I'll be able to fasten down the sides. I've used this method of fastening plastic on my greenhouse and also used it on shade cloth and other places and found it really successful. It holds against extremely high winds quite well and lasts an amazingly long amount of time. Now that the southern end is closed up, I can open this and get it over. So the plan here is to drape it over the wires and cable tie it onto the wires, and then use the strips of timber that I've cut, the cut up palings, to fasten each end. Now this is a 5 metre by 3.6, so it has multi-folds. It's just long enough. Thankfully I made this just under 5 metres, so it's the right length. The fun thing is, of course, to get it over in the first place. Get it over one wire first and then think about the second. Okay, well, I'm hoping that's going to actually hold it. Naturally, the more of these that you put on, the more secure it's going to be. Time is going to tell whether this process works, but given that the prevailing wind is coming from the west and shouldn't be lifting this but actually just blowing it out, I'm hoping it's going to be okay. At least there wasn't too much come off, and it won't necessarily be wasted. Little bits of shade cloth like this actually make quite good ties for plants, so it won't get wasted. While I'm here, I'm also going to put some zip ties through the front wire just to help hold it down and resist that tendency to lift in the wind. So this is the completed result. I'm now confident that these trees are going to get regular watering, even if I forget about them for a time, and they're going to be protected from the worst of the winter winds. Should have some reasonable protection from most frost. If it was really severe, I could put some frost cloth around these sides as well. But I've found in the past that shade cloth generally gives fairly good frost protection in this area because our frosts are not that severe generally. So I'm really happy with this result. I know it was a lot of effort and a lot of investment of time and finance, but I look forward to getting a good crop from these in a few years' time.